Well, I am trying something completely unprecedented here today. I'm driving the cart in to shoot my final test group. I've been shooting, okay? Here are some of the guns that I've been shooting and testing. And I probably want to go on manual focus now so we can bring it up here. Some of these are guns that you've seen in some of the videos. Some of them are not. There's some kind of weird test stuff there. There's the left-handed thing with the muzzle brake on the end. It's still unpainted. We'll show you this, but what I'm going to do, I just decided I'm testing the gun that I'm calling the Thing. The Thing is that gun that has a bunch of different stocks. Boy, why is that so bright? That's kind of a weird scenario. Well, we'll try this. And we'll just go to, I don't know if this whole sequence is going to work. I just decided I'm going to roll in, I'm going to pan across the guns, I'm going to show you my setup here. This is the last one. This is the Borden drop port I've been talking about. I threw a Brownell's barrel on it. This is the last one to just test for function. And what we're testing today is, I got a cool scope here that I've never, this just came out. This is the new loopholed ED glass. Don't know anything about it. I just know that at the price point, this is a 35 power, looks like a 7 to 35 maybe. Got all the cool stuff on it, like scopes that cost more than twice this much. So this is half the price of the scopes that I use a lot, and I bolted it on. Doesn't fit well, barely clears. There's a thing in the way, it's going to be clumsy to handle. But this is the Borden dropper. Completely unfired. Absolutely nothing has been done on this thing. So we're going to come over here where I can see. I'm going to go through my whole sequence here. This might be of interest to people who are talking about ever loading at the range. So these are 3 cases that have been fired. Okay, when I make cases, earlier in my series, I was making cases and I was playing with neck turning on the lathe. Now understand, I've got 2 reamers that are identical except for neck length. This is my testing reamer, which is an 1.550 inch. You'll notice that all these test barrels that I'm shooting are marked 1.550 inch. I use an 1.550 inch reamer first up, because I do stupid stuff. Because I run an 1.550 inch here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you what else I do. First thing I do after I get a gun, this gun has just been chambered up, just set up, just barreled up. I just moved it over here to a cradle. I'm going to turn this on. And I keep a Teslong handy. Turn this thing on, let it boot up. So the first thing, after I get this thing out of the lathe, get it all bolted together, spec'd up, remember when I finish with a barrel, I tip it down and I spray brake cleaner through it, and then I blow it out. And then when I get out here, I'm supposed to put it up on the rack, run a patch through it, not to condition the bore, but just to put some gun cleaning solution into it. I use Montana Extreme, and I don't know, maybe it conditions the bore. They don't need break-in, but here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull the cap off of this. I'm going to run this in. I think I can do it on camera. Then I'm going to stick a case in there and show you why I'm obsessing about this. What is going on here? Well, forget that. My stinking phone just died. So we're done with this. Bam. Ain't no Teslong. But suffice it to say that I run in and check for clearance. So, clean the barrel. So what I've got here now, I did already, in the interest of saving time, clean this barrel. So not only did I spray the brake clean, I did shoot one of these earlier that I forgot to actually clean. I threw the brake clean in, I did all the stuff, let's say, and I missed a step, and I went ahead and fired it when it was, technically I shouldn't have. I fired it when I had never really run a cleaner through, never really checked. I'm gonna bring this down somewhat. See if I can get some light off of the subject here. Might screw it up. I came unprepared, that's why I say totally unprecedented. But what I'm gonna try to do is show you my procedure for bringing in a brand new setup, loading some rounds. These rounds have been fired, I don't know, 20, 30 times. I have to look at 5 different guns and chambers, this being the 5th. 5 different barrels. Actually, well, we'll go through all this in a minute, but for right now, suffice it to say that these have been fired a ton. Nothing's been done to them. They haven't grown. I check them, all my notes. I got 3 pages of notes here from whatever. So I take my little Humpty Dumpty here. I rub just the neck and then I grasp it by the base. I try to not get any on the shoulder. I stick it in here. Done. Dip again, rub again, wipe again. Done. Dip again, rub again, wipe again. Here's 3 rounds. At this point, what I'm doing here is testing for function. The gun that I'm calling the Thing is my hacked down Atlas, which has been modified, cobbled, butchered, turned into a gun that is left load. Left load, right eject, wabbity bam, loving it. So that's my total experimental prototype, and it's got 5 different ways, 5 different barrels, 2 different stocks. But to give it a baseline, the first thing I did is I came out here last night about 5 o'clock, and I put a bench gun on here, and I documented it, checked the conditions. I have no flags out, I have nothing. Then I started shooting the Thing. The Thing didn't go so good. Not happy with the results on it. But we'll go through that breakdown. For right now, I'm just going to show you. Okay, I'm going to have to make him wait. We're going to load these quick. Let me grab a deal here. I'm going to go through my loading shooting sequence here just to show you. First I clean everything, I check with the Tez Long, double check, make sure that everything fits. Then it's a matter of prime these old cases. Now these cases were actually rejects, they're setup cases. One of them's a different neck thickness. One of them is 10 thousandths longer, no, 16 thousandths longer than the others. So, I'm shooting these first test loads. I normally start lower than this, but I've shot the PPC enough million times, and I know the bench rest guys are going to laugh at how low I'm starting. This load right here is 3,200 feet per second with a 68-inch grain. These are Uber 68 grain flat base. Okay, so I use a arbor press. This is all stuff that's suitable for, this is kind of a bastardized, cobbled together, almost a match range load on the fly setup, but not quite. What I've got here is my, this is reversible and click together, the pieces come apart, they're velcroed, PPCs go in like this, or like this. It goes on, it's got various steps in it. It's for 6x47 LAPU, it's for 300 WSM. I just use this for my left loading procedures. I use this just to whip it in. Now I gotta get this curtain out of the way, the light's gonna get funky here. Okay, so in that time, while I'm talking, I've basically gone through the prep work of bringing the gun out, checking it out. I ran a Tez long in even though I didn't use it. Loaded these rounds, and now I'm ready to go put some down on the target. All I've done so far is I've bore sighted this thing, and I'm shooting at a pretty good sized piece of paper. We might just run down there and look and see what happened. I'm close on this video. Some others, this is lubed, we're ready. We're ready to go. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm not checking velocity. All I'm doing is finding out if I'm on paper. Now this gun hasn't been, the stock hasn't been trimmed to length. This is, and this barrel hasn't been trimmed. This thing probably is, it's lighter than a 13-pound gun. It's still probably, I don't know, 12 and a half. It's gonna be an LV, but I just have, right now it's just scabbed together. It's long on this end, so I'm steering it. It's hard to work with. Check out that drop port though. Okay, and these rounds, all I'm doing is sending them down. Proof of concept. This barrel has never been, I'm gonna shoot 3 times, and these are the first 3 rounds through this gun. And at this point, it's terrible. I'm thinking I left something loose, because I just put it together. So, I've got a group down there that looks like a factory group. But, look at that. I like this. And what we've been testing here, I'll show you my cleaning procedure since we've got a little time on this video. Taking these off. As I said, I'm just on the fly. I'm just going here. This is a bore guide. You buy somebody's bore guide and you throw away everything, then you cut a case off and glue it on there. Okay, and now you got something that actually fits your chamber. I'm not saying this is good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying this is what I do. Now I've got some, that chamber is sealed. I can slobber, I don't slobber, but I could, and I can. Then my method, everybody's going to be different here. My method is to take out, I've actually got a dispenser where I take out single patches, because if my patches fall on the table, they're trash. If they fall on the floor, of course they're trash. I don't want them to ever touch anything. I like to keep crap out of my bore. So, I get this on. I take my Montana Extreme, and I do some drips around here. This isn't an ad for Montana Extreme, it's just that I like Witch's Brew, Montana Extreme. I like something that gets it done. Now we go in here, it's not dribbling, it's not goobering, it's not anything. And we push our wet patch through. And we catch it so we don't make a mess. Like I said, there was a time in my life when I would have found this fascinating, because these are the moves I didn't know, don't know. What do people do? I check my patch because I'm like that. 3 shots, 3 rounds have been through this barrel. This patch is black. Not that that means anything. I'm not going to tell you anything about patches or reading them or give you an opinion. This is how I clean. It's just like this scope. I have no idea if this is a good scope or a bad scope, and I'm certainly never going to rate it. I'm not going to get after this thing and say, you know, chromatic aberration is such and such, and asphericity, and all these words that I've read about and don't have any idea. I know what they mean. to a point, but I don't understand any of it, so I'm never going to insult your intelligence by presuming to test anything. But I'll certainly shoot stuff and try it out and give you my thoughts. You know, I've got all kinds, I've got pretty much every kind of scope that I want to test, and some that people have sent me even. So that was my first wet patch. Now the second one, I don't know why I do this, but I'm just in the habit of sometimes, once in a great while, if I shoot something too many times, it'll get a tiny bit of buildup in there, and sometimes that back and forth. But basically, I monitor the carbon ring, I monitor everything, and my cleaning method doesn't copper, doesn't carbon ring, doesn't do anything, and I never let a brush touch the bore. This patch now is as clean as a patch ever should be. I mean, only 3 shots, I understand that. I'm not going to see any green, there's not going to be any copper. Now I take another patch, because what I've done now is I did one soft wet patch, and sometimes I'll leave it sit a little longer, but it doesn't matter. There's nothing in there. It did its job in that time. Now I take this patch, well, you'll notice I did this on the last one too. I always wrap a patch around the rod when I pull it back out. I am anal about, I know for an absolute fact, this is not speculation. I've watched people wear their barrels out cleaning them. I try not to let anything touch. I try to be really slow. No, so this is a dry patch. I did wipe the rod off with the back side of this patch, which the rod should be clean. Now I'm going to go in with this dry patch, and it should be just squeakish. And it is, oh, this is hard on this long barrel. On a bench rest gun, that's an easy reach. This patch is white as the driven snow. This barrel is clean. I bedded this one really deeply into the stock. This is it's a test setup. This is a pillar bedded Borden. I'm not saying, I just figured I'd put the name on it. It's a Borden BRM drop port. It's got 3 action screws. It should go in there tight as a nugget. At this point, the group I have down there is stupid. But this was the last group of my sequence. So now what I'm going to do is break everything down, move the camera back, go get my targets, which I sometimes leave targets out for weeks. I mean, it's, how do I say this? Well, I live here. So I'll give you a shot down range. I've got a couple of minutes here. I'll just show you what I'm doing here and what I'm going to break down here in a minute. Better go out here and turn the music off. Busted. So here we are. Got the music turned off so I can be legal. Gonna come out through the door. We're not gonna go down range, but I'm gonna show you where I'm shooting. The range is coming together better all the time. Come out here and give us some shots. If I had a zoom, that would be cool, but I don't. So, I'm trying to get the light out of the picture. Starting up here close is the pistol and shotgun range. You can't see all this stuff up there, but the stuff up high is shotgun spinners, pistol spinners, walk arounds, dingers and dongers of all sorts. The target that we're mainly shooting at is right there in the mid-ground by the rock pile. Having trouble finding out. Like I said, I'm just kind of killing time here to show that the 100-yard target down there, I'll be going down to get here real shortly, and we'll collate these groups and show you what these guns have done. I might, just for the fun of it, shoot a few more, tighten the screws on this thing and I just tightened the scope down earlier. I was set up on the bags. almost ready to start the sequence, and I realized the scope was moving. So somewhere I probably left something loose on the Borden gun. I'm going to go through, and I think I'll run a few groups through it, and in the next video I'll have the targets pulled, and we'll take a look and see if I made any improvements on that Borden. Group number 1 is already down there, and it's 3 shots with air, and I'm not even touching high and right of the center bowl. So we'll talk again soon.